We're going to settle this once and for all. Which is the superior single? Is it Do They Know It's Christmas from Band-Aid? Or We Are the World from USA for Africa? We're going to have this out right now. Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks, a very special episode of Amity Tracks, where we are going to battle this out. Britain versus America. The charity battle of the charity singles. Do They Know It's Christmas or We Are the World? Now, I'm gonna try and have some fun with this video. We're gonna make fun of 80s fashions and 80s egos and all the good stuff. But yeah, I do want to say at the outset, these were great for what they were trying to accomplish. I know there's been some controversy over where all the money went and all that, but they did both, seriously raise some money for famine relief in Africa in the mid 80s. And they, I think, inspired other important charity events, in the decades to follow. So, I hats off to both of these in all seriousness. But let's have some fun with them. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you a little bit of background on each of these songs, each of these singles, kind of how they came to be, who was involved, all of that, and I give our editor here a run for his money in this episode because he's gonna have to flash a lot of pictures. So I'm gonna be naming a lot of people. And then we're gonna. I've got a point system. We got different categories, and they're gonna and these two songs will go head to head in these different categories. We'll award points one side or the other and decide once and for all which is the superior charity single. All right. So let's start with Band-Aid. Do They Know It's Christmas? Because that did come first. This was released December 3rd, 1984. And it was put together by Bob Geldof. So Bob Geldof of the Boomtown Rats. He had seen a documentary on the BBC that was covering the famine, the horrible famine that was going on in Ethiopia at the time. And Geldof was moved to try and do something about it. And so he came up with this idea of putting together this kind of all-star charity single where the sales proceeds could go to famine relief. Again, great idea. So Geldof gets together and Midge Ure, I don't know how to say the last name. Ure is how it's spelled. But the guy from Ultravox. Okay, so Geldof and Midge get together and Geldof writes the lyrics, Midge wrote the music. And that's the genesis of Do They Know It's Christmas? And it was put together really quickly. The song, from what I read, took about 24 hours to record and mix and all that. I mean, it was kind of this whirlwind. None of the artists got any advance copy of the song, so they just showed up and learned the song on the fly there, which is kind of cool. The musicians on the song for the backing track, I should have written that down, but I didn't. But I seem to remember, I think Midge Ure was on there. John Taylor of Duran Duran played the bass, and I think Phil Collins played the drums because Phil Collins played drums on every 80s song ever made. I think that was the core backing band on the Band-Aid song. Yeah, there were a couple of some notable no-shows. Queen wanted to participate but couldn't be there. David Bowie was actually set to sing, I think, the opening verse or opening lines, but he couldn't make it due to I think a scheduling conflict. But he is in the chorus, so he was able to kind of lay his vocals down in the big chorus, but didn't get a solo spot, which he was supposed to. Not everyone loved the song. I know this is going to shock some of you guys, but Morrissey called the song diabolical. That's his words. And he said, quote, "It was the most self-righteous platform ever in the history of popular music." Sounds like Morrissey. All right, so that's Do They Know It's Christmas? Let's talk a little bit about We Are the World, USA for Africa. This song was written by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, although again, reading more details about it, it was primarily Michael Jackson who wrote it. And then Quincy Jones got involved to sort of help put the whole thing together. Now, this was released, again, this came after, so this was basically inspired by this. The Americans wanted to do their pitch in, do their part too. So this came out, what was it, March 7th of 1985 was when this was released. A couple of interesting no-shows on the American side too. Prince was supposed to be there. In fact, Michael had, I think, set aside a verse or a couple of lines for Prince to sing solo. And but he didn't show up. There's differing reasons given over the years for why he didn't come. I think a lot of it has to do with Prince sort of being a control freak, and he wouldn't have been in control at this huge all-star thing, so he just kind of ditched it. But who knows? Who knows? The one I find kind of humorous is Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was supposed to be there, but he didn't show up because he was in the midst of recording "Party All the Time," which is a fantastic 80s song, by the way. Like, I might rather listen to "Party All the Time" than "We Are the World" most days. But later on, Eddie did admit his mistake. He said he didn't really understand what this was going to be all about, and he felt like an idiot for not showing up in hindsight. But whatever. "Party All the Time" is a great song. So, so some other fun facts. I remember watching this documentary on We Are the World one time, and during the recording, there was this like rattling. It sounded like metal chains coming through, and then for the longest time they couldn't figure out like where is this sound coming. They were checking the mics and all that. It turns out it was Cyndi Lauper who had a bunch of jewelry on, and she was like doing this while she was singing and rattling the jewelry on the mic. That was kind of an interesting story. And again, on a more serious note, before we get into the competition, both of these did inspire, I think, great later, charity events. Of course, the Live Aid event, Farm Aid, kind of all these huge charity events came in the wake of these singles, which was great. And yeah, the Canadians did do one too. I don't have the 45, although I've got the We Are the World record, the album here. Band-Aid did not put out a full album, by the way. That probably should be a point for the Americans. But also included here, the Canadians called themselves Northern Lights, and "Tears Are Not Enough" was their song, which included, it's got a list, Bryan Adams, John Candy, Corey Hart, Gordon Lightfoot, Joni Mitchell, Anne Murray, Aldo Nova. I don't know who that one is. Oscar Peterson, I'm assuming that's the jazz pianist. That's interesting. Mike Reno, Neil Young, and others. I'm not sure who the others were. But those are the Canadians. But we're not talking about Canadians. We're talking about Americans and the Brits. All right. What else? Okay. Well, let's get to the categories. Let's get to the points. Let's get to the competition. I think you do have to give 1 point to Band-Aid for being first in time. I think that's fair. The fact that these guys were first and these guys are sort of copying, I don't think copying, but inspired by, following in the wake. 1 point goes to Band-Aid. All right. Very important category here, 80s hairstyles. Now, while you have to admire Cyndi Lauper's rainbow, whatever's going on there, to me, you don't beat Bono's mid-80s mullet and Simon Le Bon's, and I guess you could add George Michael too, feathery, light feathery fluff. So I'm sorry, man. Daryl Hall might be a strong kind of fluff too, but no, I'm giving that point again to Band-Aid. Bono's mullet, I think, really puts it over the edge. So 2 points to Band-Aid, 0 so far for USA for Africa. But we got more categories here. How about star power? Who packed the biggest punch with who was involved here? Okay. And this is where our editor is going to really earn his money here with the photographs. Although we're not earning any money yet because we need more subscriptions. So subscribe. All right, but we'll get there. So, Band-Aid. So I am going to have to read my notes here because I did in-depth research to find. So I'm not including artists who just kind of sang in the chorus, So we're looking at star power of people who either had like solo spots, their own verse or their own lines, or were in some small group like a duet setting or a trio or something like that, okay? But not just people that were there singing in the big chorus. So for Band-Aid, and this I found, this is actually in order of appearance in the song for Do They Know It's Christmas. You have Paul Young, who starts off. Now that was the spot that was reserved for Bowie, but he couldn't show up. Bowie would have been a much bigger star power, I think. Then comes Boy George, big at the time. George Michael, Sting, Simon Le Bon of Duran Duran, Bono from U2. Then Marilyn and Glenn Gregory, and I have to say I had to look up Glenn Gregory from Heaven 17, which actually they were a pretty good 80s band. And so I'm going on, those are the solo singers, people that either had a line, had a verse, or were in a small group. And the chorus did include Bowie, did include Paul McCartney, although McCartney did not have a solo spot. The rest of Duran Duran, Bananarama, Phil Collins, Spandau Ballet, and some others. But again, I'm not including those, just those initial ones who had a solo spot. Now contrast that with USA for Africa. Now again, these are the ones who had a solo spot or a small group spot, not in the chorus. Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, Kenny Rogers, James Ingram, Tina Turner, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Dionne Warwick, Willie Nelson, Al Jarreau, Bruce Springsteen, Kenny Loggins, Steve Perry, Journey, of course, Daryl Hall, Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, Kim Carnes, Bob Dylan, and Ray Charles. And just for fun, again, I'm not counting these, but some additional people that were in the chorus. Dan Aykroyd, Canadian. How did he get in the door? I don't know. Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, Sheila E., the rest of the Jacksons, the Pointer Sisters, Smokey Robinson. He should have had a solo spot. Waylon Jennings, and some others. You comparing USA for Africa, you can't, I don't know. It's hard to overcome. It's a huge list with some massive legends. Yes, there are some legends in the Band-Aid list, but not as many. And, I get maybe just different structure of the song. We Are the World has more spots for solo spots. I don't know, but I got to give that point to the Americans. All right, so I think we're at 2-1 at this point. Well, let's look at the whole purpose of these songs: money raised, sales. Now, I I didn't cross check these numbers. I should have. And perhaps my editor could do some additional research, and if he finds some different numbers or some strikingly different numbers, maybe he can kind of come in and you know set me straight. But I did look on the internet, and this is what I found. The USA for Africa, the We Are the World single, raised $44 million. The Do They Know It's Christmas single raised $28 million. So if those numbers are correct, I've got to give that point to the Americans as well. I think we are tied now at 2-2, making a comeback. So we do need a tiebreaker, and I'm going to go with just my opinion. I mean, which song is better? Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I got to go with. Which song is better? Both songs are catchy, well written, heart's in the right place, great message, all that stuff. I do think that We Are the World is a bit more universal in that Do They Know It's Christmas does confine itself to the holiday season. And the message is a little presumptuous too. Although if it is for Ethiopia, Christianity is strong in Ethiopia, strong Christian tradition there. But just song to song. I think Do They Know It's Christmas a little bit repetitive. Once it gets into that chorus, it just kind of repeat that a lot. I remember right. And I really like, because it's just sort of a fun game to play, the fact that We Are the World does feature some more solo singers and duet partners and stuff than the Do They Know It's Christmas song. And it's kind of a fun parlor game to if you can identify each of the singers, and that's a lot of fun. Just by listening to the song. So I'm going with We Are the World. So if that's the tiebreaker, We Are the World is a superior song by a score of 3-2 over Do They Know It's Christmas. Although perhaps a bonus point should be given here to Do They Know It's Christmas, because they have reconvened several times and like over different time periods, into more recent years. Not the same group each time, but whoever's kind of big in Britain at the time, and like updated this song multiple times, which is pretty cool. So maybe that should be a bonus point, making it 3-3. That because I don't think they've redone this ever. This is sort of stuck in time. But I'm still gonna give the win to the Americans because they did put out an LP. So 4-3, USA for Africa. Now let's kind of finish up on this record, because this is an interesting record. Obviously, he's got the song on there. It also has the Canadian song, Tears Are Not Enough from Northern Lights. But what's kind of cool, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 artists contributed, a single song to this record, and they were all previously unreleased. So it's kind of cool. So these are songs from some of these artists that you can only get here. Chicago, Huey Lewis and the News. Now they kind of copped out because they put a live version of Trouble in Paradise, and that's a song from their debut album, and they just gave you a live. Well, whatever, that's still okay. Steve Perry contributes a song. The Pointer Sisters. Now Prince and the Revolution, I think maybe feeling regret that he didn't show for the single, did contribute a song to the album, which is For the Tears in Your Eyes. And it's an unreleased song, hadn't been on anything else, and so this was unique to this. That's kind of cool. Kenny Rogers contributed a song. Tina Turner contributed a song, which is actually a pretty good song if I remember, Total Control. And Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band contribute a song. Now, it's a live song and it's a cover, but it is a killer track. It is a cover. It's Trapped. And if any longtime Springsteen fans know, like myself, that was a song that he did a lot, you know, kind of during this period at his live shows. And that was written, is that a Cliff Richard? Or Jimmy Cliff? Who did Trapped? Written by Jimmy Cliff, yeah. It's originally a Jimmy Cliff song. And but Bruce and the E Street Band just, you know, in the early to mid 80s just did a killer live cover of that. And so they put that on here. And that's my favorite track on here, actually. I love that Springsteen song. So yeah, so it's pretty cool to have this. You know, you get some kind of unique songs that aren't, you know, from some big names that aren't available anywhere else. Now I want to end with this. Included in the vinyl, if you look at the sleeve here, you can order this fantastic USA for Africa merchandise. Here, look, I'm trying to look at those shirts. Isn't that awesome? You can order some buttons, a cassette. Is that a poster? Yeah. Looks like a booklet there. It says, use the order card provided in the LP to send in your order. Let's take a look. There it is. I still have the order form here. Merchandise order form for USA for Africa. If you look on the back side here, you can put your credit card number. There's a toll-free number to call, which right before I filmed this video, I called the number. You know, I mean, the number's there. Maybe they're still around since 1985. What I wanted to ask them was, are they still going to honor these prices here from 85? Because I could get a USA for Africa muscle t-shirt for $13. It's pretty cool. I could get the book for $8.50. The sweatshirt was $21. The poster was $6. So I want to see if they would still, honor these prices. So I called the number right before I started this video on my phone that I'm now recording this on. And it rang, and it rang, and it rang. And then I got this like piercing sound, like this, like an air raid siren or something. It was like just, it was really creepy. So I hung up. I was scared. I don't know what would happen. Anyway, so I don't think this number works anymore. It says you can call Monday through Saturday. I'm recording this on a Friday night, so toll free. Anyway, maybe we can't get this stuff anymore. Hope you enjoyed the video. That was kind of a fun, nostalgic run through, again, I think some admirable charity songs from the 80s. But you tell me in the comments, do you prefer the Do They Know It's Christmas song, or do you prefer the We Are the World song? Actually, let me look back on these singles. Which are the B-sides? Feed the World is the B-side. Is that just some sort of remix on Do They Know It's Christmas? Because I know that's like the line in the chorus. Feed the world. I don't know. I have to put that on. What's the B-side on We Are the World single? That's a Quincy Jones song, Grace. Don't know that one. I'll have to put that on and see how that is. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please do subscribe. If you're enjoying this content, we'd really appreciate it. And please, hit the like button if you like these videos, and you can hit the bell for notifications. We try and put videos out on a fairly regular schedule here. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.